Hello everyone, David here, and yes, we are back with a figure review, and what better way to do so than with a new Transformers movie line. Now, like I've stated already in that vlog from some time ago, I'm only going to be reviewing 2 figures from the Age of Extinction movie line because figures are getting kind of expensive, and because they're making them smaller due to the demand of plastic and oil and the rise of the prices for said plastic and oil and all that political garbage. It's just getting a little bit too expensive to get these figures, and out of all of them, the ones that piqued my interest the most were Evasion Mode, Voyager Class Optimus Prime, as well as Leader Grimlock. And I wanted to get both of them so I can recreate that scene from the movie that we are just dying to see, of having Optimus Prime riding Dinobot into battle. That's going to be awesome. But these are the only 2 figures I'm going to be reviewing from the line, sadly, but here I am to review the first of my 2 reviews leading up to the release of Age of Extinction, and we are starting off with Voyager Class Evasion Mode Optimus Prime. Now, before I get to the actual figure itself, I actually do kind of want to talk about the packaging for these figures, which I find very alluring. I think that the design for the packaging was really well this time around. It really does capture the eye when you're going down the aisle at a toy store, Toys R Us, Target, whatever, and it catches your attention like, hey, these are Transformer figures. And don't worry, I won't be doing this for Grimlock, at least not to the extent that I'm going to be doing it in this section of the video, because it's for the most part the same kind of packaging with a few minor differences. So do not fret, this section for the Grimlock review is not going to be as long. For one, we got the huge Transformers logo here, and I think it's very captivating. And then we got the design of the figure, or whatever character that this figure is of, here in the next to the window, and then Evasion Mode Optimus Prime. And to let you know that this is an official movie license figure, we got the logo for Age of Extinction right here. And then we got the window itself presenting the figure in his robot mode. And it is a little bit different to other figures from previous movie lines, especially the first 2 movie lines, where if they were in a Voyager or Deluxe class figure, then the figures would be in their alternate mode rather than their robot mode within the packaging, and the leaders were the only ones that were presented in robot mode first. But that's not the case necessarily with these figures in the Age of Extinction line, and I don't believe that was the case with the Dark of the Moon figures either, which I did not purchase any figures whatsoever because the majority of them were either okay, or they were simply just repaints of the same figures from the previous line, so I didn't really bother with that line. Plus, I was completely unemployed at that time, so couldn't really afford it. But anyways, let's go ahead and focus more on this guy. Like I said, I really do dig the packaging for these figures. It's very alluring, and I like that they went with a more simplistic design of having it just be a box. You know, it's a rectangular box. There's no clever design, even though I am welcome to that on certain occasions. Like, for example, actually, hold on, right here I actually have a box for Starscream from the Revenge of the Fallen line, and as you can see, they do have some little designs going on here and there. Let me see if it's on the camera properly. Move this back. You can see right here they cut the corners here to make it look a lot more stylized, and you got the little windows here on the side, and then the main window here in the front. So, you know, they took their liberties with the design of the packaging. And I do have some boxes from the original movie line, from the very first movie line, but I can't remember where they are. But those were even more intricate because one side was squared and then the other side was curved like this. If you guys remember that from back in 2007, good old 2007, with the first movie, and we were all just stoked to see it. But yeah, you know, they've taken their liberties with the figures, but now with the 4th movie line, they decided to go with a much more, I don't know, the rubber band, with a much more simplistic design of having it just be a box. At the top, you got the Autobot symbol right there with a little bit of red and white, and then at the bottom, it's pretty much the same thing. You got red, Autobot symbol. This is an authentic Transformers movie product, or Transformers product in general, just in case you did not know. We turn to the side, we got a bunch of white and red with the Autobot symbol, and like I said, the contrast between these 2 colors is very, very good. I don't know what it is about it, but I really, really do dig it. And then at the other side, we got the continuation of this graphic here of Optimus Prime with, once again, Transformers, the Autobot symbol. And then down below we got Transformers Generations Voyager class series M4 number 001. So they're making sure that this is some legit stuff that you're getting, which is kind of nice on Hasbro's part. I do believe that this is from Hasbro. Yes, it is. So I do think it's kind of neat that they're making it look very official and authentic, even though we know where it's from. But anyways, that's still pretty cool. So we turn to the back, and then we got your basics kind of material here. You got images of Optimus Prime in both his robot mode and vehicle form, as well as what other figures available on the line, which is the Voyager class version of Grimlock here. Changes in 18 steps. I think it's a little bit, I don't want to say insulting, but kind of, it's a bit of a generalization to have this be on the box, because it kind of makes it seem like us Transformer collectors are a little naive to how hard it is to transform a figure, so you gotta let us know how many steps it takes on the box, rather than to wait until we get to that instruction manual inside. But that's just me. And then we got your basic bio. Optimus Prime and the Autobots are faced with a new kind of war. Alliances that once were strong now stand in doubt. Nonetheless, Earth needs their protection more than ever. Optimus Prime adapts, redesigning his alternate mode so he can move unrecognized. If he cannot fight the battle with firepower on the front lines, he can fight it with covert maneuvers from the edge. Which is funny, because even though it's not present here in the figure, in the movie, from some of the images that I've seen in the trailers and the TV spots and all that, it looks like he's still going to be sporting the flames in this vehicle mode, even though it's a very different form of truck than in the first movie, or the first 3 movies. If you want to be covert and try to disguise yourself, because apparently humans are now hunting down Transformers, do away with the flames like you did here with this figure, instead of like how it's going to be in the movie. Now, there are a couple of things that I do find kind of odd when it comes to the back of this packaging here. One, in case you guys didn't notice, there are no specs for Optimus Prime. Usually the back of the packaging for almost any Transformers figure, whether it be the movie line or Generations or any line that they're doing at the moment, they usually have a little section where they say this is his strength, this is his intelligence, this is his speed, or whatever. None of that is here. And I think I know why. That's mainly because by this time we know the specs of Optimus Prime, because they're literally the exact same specs in every single iteration of Optimus Prime figure that Hasbro releases, no matter what. It's always like 10 for strength, 7 for speed, because he's a truck, so he's a little slower than any of the other Autobots. It's pretty much the same thing over and over, so this time they decided to do away with that. The other odd thing is that you got this really random ion cannon little text here on the side, and I think that's very random. I don't know why it's just here on the side. His ion cannon is all the way over here. Why do you have to put it down here below the bio? It just seems completely out of place. If anything, at least have like a little thing leading up to the ion cannon saying, hey, this is the ion cannon right here, instead of just having it randomly here with no indicator pointing to the actual ion cannon. I just find that very hilarious, and I look forward to see what kind of random thing the packaging for Grimlock has. And that is about it for the packaging. I like it a lot. It's very compact and it makes the figure look very cool. But this is a figure review nonetheless, and more so than that, this is a Transformers figure. So we gotta get him out of the packaging to take a nicer look at him. So let's go ahead and do so right now. And here we have Voyager class Evasion mode Optimus Prime. Now, as you can see, they decided to actually make a figure out of the wink that Bay put in the new Transformers movie to fans of Generation 1 by having Optimus Prime be an overcab truck, or cab over truck. I can't remember what the proper name for it is, but it's significantly different than his previous mode in the first 3 Transformers movies, which I believe was called a Peterbilt truck. But this time he is an overcab truck, and as you can tell, he's definitely a wink at Generation 1 because he had the exact same kind of mode in that series. And I love it. Not only do I love the fact that Bay is actually going to have that in the movie based on some of the trailers. Now, granted, it's probably just going to be there for about 15-20 minutes, and then he's going to transform to that flashier, much more Peterbilt-esque mode of truck for the remainder of the movie, and that's saying a lot considering that the movie is like 2.5 hours from what I hear. But Hasbro went ahead and made a figure out of him, and that's cool. Now, yeah, it's the Voyager class figure, but they made a figure. And what I love the most is that they were able to capture that new representation of Optimus Prime in figure mode, and above all, they managed to do it very well. The sculpt and the detailing for this guy in this mode is really, really great. I mean, he looks outstanding. And I'm very surprised that they managed to capture all this kind of detail within a Voyager class figure, especially one of this size, which I'll get to in a second. But he still looks great. You got an awful lot of good decals going on here and there, like, for example, the silver metallic paint decals going on here on the side as well as the front, and then you got the Autobot symbol there on the side. You got the windows, and you actually got some translucent plastic here in the front windows as well as the grille and the bumper. And most of all, in my opinion, would be the sculpt. The fact that they were able to get so much compacted into this little small portion of the truck and still have it look like it's going to in the movie, to me it just blows my mind. And he looks like a little mini model figure of the overcab truck mode that he's going to have in the movie. He looks great. Now, I do kind of wish that he had a few more paint decals as well as some pieces of plastic painted over so that it could blend in a little bit better. Like, for example, this gray panel here at the top, that could have been painted red so that it can blend in with the rest of the red here, as well as this piece of plastic right here, it's also gray. And like I said, some paint decals could have been useful, especially here in the back. I wish that they would have put a little bit of gray here and there so that they can make it look like machinery or something like that and not make it too obvious that these are his feet, because they definitely stand out. I do, like I said, enjoy the mold. I like how they were able to mold in what looks to be that little section of the truck where you could put and hook up a convoy onto it, a trailer of some sort, and you can actually hook it up right there. I do like that, but at the same time, we can also tell that these are the feet, so I wish that there were some paint decals added so that they can make this figure look a whole lot better and make certain parts of it blend in a little bit more. And speaking of blending, there's some pieces here that don't flush very well with the rest of the cabin. I understand that they went for a very compact feel, and I think they did that rather well, but there's certain sections, like for example right here, you can kind of see a gap between these two pieces, and here in the front you could definitely see the outline of the windows not lining up at all, and you could try everything in your power to get these pieces to line up, but it's just not going to happen, and I've tried, trust me. But all of that pales in comparison to what in my opinion is the biggest complaint I have for this figure, not only in this mode but the figure as a whole, and that is that he is just too fucking small, okay? And I mentioned this in the packaging portion of this review, that they're making the figures a whole lot smaller because it's costing more to make, and hence they're raising the prices on them, and that's turning off some people an awful lot, especially me. For comparison's sake, here I have 2008 Chevy Camaro movie Bumblebee from the first movie line, and as you can see, they're practically the same size. I mean, not only in width, but also in length. Let me show them horizontally here from the side so you can see. And yeah, they're definitely the same size. And from certain angles, Bumblebee actually looks a little bit bigger than this guy. And they still have the nerve to call this guy a Voyager. And he simply just isn't in this mode because everything gets so compacted into this section of the truck that he reduces heavily in size. And don't get me wrong, he looks amazing in this mode. He really does. But when I figured out that he's this small, because like I showed at the beginning of this video, he comes in his robot mode, so I needed to transform him from robot to vehicle. And so when I transformed him to this mode, I was so shocked to see how small he really is in this mode. And like I said, I like how he looks, but this is just getting kind of out of hand for Hasbro. Now, aside from rolling on most surfaces here smoothly, he does come with the ion cannon at the back of the packaging, pointed out so randomly. The ion cannon is, you know, pretty standard. It's your typical weapon that almost any Transformer comes with that does launch a missile by pulling the tab here, and it releases this missile inside of it. And it's mainly just gray, one big piece of plastic, although I'm a little surprised by some of the etchings that they were able to give the gun here on the side as well as the front. I was actually taken by the small amount of detail that this ion cannon had. It could have just simply been a plain gray piece of plastic, but they actually went ahead and put a little bit of detail into it. And it's mainly used so that he could look cool in robot mode, but you can actually accessorize him with it in his vehicle mode. He actually has a hole right here at the top of the cabin, and you can fit the gun there, as the back of the packaging points out. But in my opinion, this looks kind of weird. I don't know, the gun just looks way too big, and I don't know, it just looks pretty odd. So what I like to do is actually take the ion cannon and either not have him have it, or if you like, you can actually take the ion cannon and fit it into those two holes here in the back of the truck. You can actually fit it in there, and it fits. It's actually a pretty perfect fit. You can just have the ion cannon here on the back. Now, granted, he's going to be shooting backwards, but still, I kind of prefer this over having the ion cannon here at the top. And that pretty much wraps it up for the truck mode, so let's go ahead and get him transformed. Now, don't let his simple design fool you. This guy can actually be pretty intricate and involved with his transformation, which is a good thing about the figure. I actually find that pretty fun, because whenever a transformer is somewhat difficult to transform, but not nerve-wracking to the point where you're going to break the figure, I think of that as a good thing, because it makes the figure feel like a Rubik's Cube that you can just grab every now and then and just transform him and pass some time, and I think that's pretty cool. And that is certainly the case with this figure. And let's go ahead and get him transformed. First thing you want to do is actually take the smokestack here and fold it down. I was actually pretty surprised to know that this was the smokestack when I was transforming him, because like I said, from robot to vehicle mode, so finding out that this was actually the smokestack is one of the neat surprises that this figure has during its transformation, because like I said, it's pretty intricate and involved. So let's go ahead and go here in the front. You're actually gonna, what I like to do is actually take this gray panel here and press it down, and when you do, it's gonna disalign this piece here, and that makes it easier to kind of grab it and pull it up like you're supposed to. Let me see if I can get my fingers in here. And there you go. And just lift this entire piece that forms the majority of his grill and lift it up. And actually, if you look inside, you can kind of see his head. Let me go and zoom in. His head is actually right there. See if you get it in the lighting. But there's his pretty little head, and that we'll see in better detail later on. But yeah, go ahead and lift this piece up, and then we're going to go here in the back and take these two panels and fold them out like that. Then we're going to go here in the front and actually go here at the top and take what's going to be his arms and fold them up like this. Like that. And now you're going to take this entire section here in the middle and rotate it all the way around, but not 100% all the way around. Just going to leave it there for the time being. And that actually reveals his head here at the top, right there. Then we're going to go here to the sides, and this is where it gets just a little tad bit tricky. You're going to take these panels and pop them off like that. This entire section here is one big panel, so you just take it, pop it off. And basically you're going to take them and kind of rotate them upwards. But in order to do that, you need to clear some space here. So while you're rotating them up, you actually have to take the arm and kind of fold it down like this and kind of get it out of the way from certain pieces. And once it gets out of the way, you can actually rotate the entire piece like that. Let me see if I can demonstrate here with the other piece, like so. Press it down, and now you can actually take this panel and rotate it up. Next, you're going to take this piece here in the front, which forms the front bumper, and take it and just rotate it down and kind of get it out of the way for the time being. And now you can take these wheels and kind of push them to the side, so once again you can get them out of the way. You're going to have to put them back into position later, but for now let's just get those front two wheels out of the way. And as you can see, this guy's just one big mess. I mean, he looks like practically a monster at this point. Quite horrific. So now we take this top piece that I said not to flip all the way around, and now finish flipping it all the way down to where he stays right there, leveled to this piece here, so that he's flushed all the way and his head is facing the correct way, like that. Then you're going to take this back piece here, and you see this gray piece? This one is actually going to fit into his back here very smoothly. It doesn't pop into place, but it is going to fit there. And then while doing that, go ahead and take this piece and have it rest on his shoulders. Now before you do that, you got this other piece here that does move and rotate upwards so that it could reveal these two rods to kind of give him that much more movie accurate look. And if you like, you can do that ahead of time, but what I like to do is to just leave it as it is, and this piece gets rotated upwards on its own when you take this piece and flush it into his shoulders. So you don't really have to do it, and I like to just have it do it on its own, like so. So go ahead and have that rest on his shoulders, and now you can take these two panels and flip them up, and you can actually have this tab right there fit into that slot. Now, much like this back piece here, it's not going to pop into place, but it does fit in there rather snugly, if that's even a word. So you're going to go ahead and take those two panels and fold them upwards so that they fit into place. And like I said, they don't pop into place, but they fit into there rather well. Go ahead and take the arms, and there you go. You got the panels kind of rotating downwards there. Go ahead and take the arms and have them facing the right way. Let's see if they are. Yes, they are. Like this. And now let's go ahead and do the legs. I know I got some pieces here that need to be folded, but I don't want to get into them just yet because I do have a couple of comments on them. So let's go ahead and do the legs first. Go ahead and take the entire back portion here and rotate it down. Separate it halfway through, and you can already see how the legs are forming. But something that I found kind of unconventional, because usually the feet are kind of folded inwards, and you usually just take the feet, rotate them down, and then boom, you got your legs. It's pretty much the case with almost every single iteration of Optimus Prime in figure form to this day. Alright, the back portion of the truck is always going to form the legs, and all you got to do is just fold them down, separate them, and fold out the feet. That's pretty much the case in almost every single time. But here, what the instructions don't point out is that the feet are actually pegged into place, so you kind of need to pop them off when you're transforming him back to robot mode, and you need to be careful because you don't want to break anything. So go ahead and take the feet, and like I said, pop them off gently, like so, and you rotate them down. And when you do so, let's see if I could show it here, this piece is actually going to rotate and flush with the rest of his leg. And I think, like I said, that's one of the surprises that I figured out on my own without the instructions, because they didn't point this out while transforming him, because I found that very intriguing, and yet the instructions did not point that out. So go ahead and rotate the leg down, and now we got our leg. Go ahead and do the same thing with the other leg. Take the foot, pop it off gently, like so. Rotate it down, rotate this piece into place, align the foot, and there you have your other leg. And now you can actually go ahead and take these wheels and fold them upwards and fit them into place as well, like that. And there we have the entire bottom portion of the figure. And now, I miss this so much, we're going to go ahead and rotate the camera. You guys miss me doing that? Yeah, I did too. Alright, there we go. So now we're just going to go ahead and finish up transforming Optimus. All you got to do is just, like I said, rotate the arms into place, make sure that they're out of the way, make sure that everything is fit in rather well. And the last few steps are, like I said, steps that the instructions didn't really point out. They were just done from the one image to the next without pointing it out. And I understand you can kind of do this on your own and figure out where each piece goes, but still, I wish that they would have mentioned it in the instructions, and that could probably potentially avoid breaking a figure by somebody in the near future. So to finish off transforming him, you're just going to take this piece right here and rotate it down, and that's going to form his abdomen. And then you're going to take these two panels that you folded out earlier and fold them back in to form the chest, like so. And also, last things last, I'm going to take these pieces right here and fold them downwards, like so. Take this, fold it downwards. And there we have Voyager class, Evasion mode, Optimus Prime. Now, much like in his truck mode, I think that the sculpting and the detail for this figure in this mode as well is actually pretty amazing. In fact, this might be the best representation of Michael Bay Optimus Prime since Revenge of the Fallen Leader Class Optimus Prime. I mean, that figure was a damn near masterpiece. Now, I'm not saying that this figure is up to that caliber, because he does have his problems and he is a Voyager class, but I just love the fact that they were able to capture so much of the detail and the proportions and the sculpt that he has in his robot mode in the movie in this figure, considering his size. That not only because he's a Voyager class, but also he's a Voyager class that is significantly smaller than your average Voyager class. And like I said, that complaint that I had with him in vehicle mode is also present here. He is taller than average deluxe, but he's still a little bit smaller than your typical Voyager class figure. In fact, I actually have one right here for size comparison. I have Ironhide, Voyager class Ironhide from the 2007 movie line. I'm hoping that I'm bringing you guys back with some of these 2007 movie figures. What a way we've come. But here you got what Hasbro categorizes as two Voyager class figures, and only one of them truly feels like a Voyager class to me, which is Ironhide. He has this bulkiness about him that just feels more like a very sound figure in this class. Now, they are about the same size. In fact, I'm going to go as far as to say that Optimus may be a tad bit taller than Ironhide if we're counting from head to toe, but Ironhide's proportions are just much more, like I said, sound and robust rather than skinny Optimus Prime here, who, like I said, despite having amazing detail and sculpt, he just feels too small. He feels like what I believe is called an Ultra class, which is the class that is right in the middle between Deluxe and Voyager, and I feel like that's what we got with Optimus here. But like I said, the detail on him is amazing. Let me get the camera to zoom in, because most of that detail is actually present in his chest area. I think that entire area of this figure looks great. You got more translucent plastic used here for the windows, and like I said, the sculpting is pretty movie accurate, and his head sculpt is actually really well done. You got all these little etchings in his face. I don't know how to focus here. Get it to focus. Right there. Yeah, as you can see, you got all these etchings in there of his eyes and his mouth and his nose, and the head as a whole is just pretty outstanding. Now, one other complaint that I had with him in his vehicle mode that is also present here in his robo mode is that I wish that they would have had some more paint decals, but that's more present here because I feel like there's certain parts of him in this mode that just feels too blank. Like entire sections of his body are just like one color. Like for example here, his legs are just completely blue, even his feet are blue, and we know for a fact that his feet are much more gray. And we've seen previous iterations of Optimus in figure form where he had gray feet, but here it's just one complete blue from his hips down. And we got a similar thing going on here with his forearms. They're completely red, and then you got some more blue here in his upper arm, and then his entire abdomen area is also, like I said, pretty much just red. I mean, sure, you got the lights there in some metallic silver, and you got the abdomen or his abs, his ab grill area that is also gray, but just some more detail would have been welcome, especially here on the sides where it's just one massive red. And I don't know if it's coming out very well on camera. Let me get his arm out of the way, but he actually has some detail going on there in his sides as well. You actually got some gears going on there. I don't know if you could see it, but yeah, they actually went as far as to put some detail here on the sides, but that's not getting the justice that it deserves if it doesn't have enough paint decals to kind of point it out. People are gonna overlook it and just not pay attention to it that much. But as a whole, his proportions, his sculpt, his detailing is amazing, and like I said, I'm surprised by the amount of accuracy that they went with this figure considering his size. Like I said, we got these bits right here that are very reminiscent of Movie Prime, as well as his legs. Especially this area right here looks very movie accurate, as well as the knee pads here, or the knee protectors, if you will. They look pretty movie accurate, and yeah, as a whole, this figure looks outstanding. It's just a shame that, like I said, he's too small, and he doesn't have enough paint decals to really bring forward some of the details that he has and give it the attention that it deserves. Now, like I pointed out earlier, he does have the ion cannon, and he definitely sports it very well in his hands, and he just looks great with it. Now, he does come with a fair amount of articulation that is pretty good. You got some basic articulation here in the arm. His arms rotate 360 degrees vertically, and they go inwards and outwards, but they are hindered a little bit there because of the way that this piece of plastic is molded. But if you were able to hear, it's actually ratcheted. He actually has a ratcheted joint here at the top of his arm, as well as the top of his leg. He actually has another ratcheted joint there, although you can't really hear it, but it is there, mark my words. And that makes for some great poses, as well as other points of articulation, like for example, you got an upper thigh swivel here and an upper bicep swivel here. You got some elbow articulation there, but it's mostly there because of the transformation, and it's also a little bit limited when you're folding the arm back. He can bend at the knee a little beyond 90 degrees, and he also has a joint here on his foot that allows for movement up and down, as well as a slight pivot from left to right. And he also has waist movement, but it gets kind of stiff when I hit that point right there, so I don't want to force it, but his waist does move. And he also has head articulation. It does rotate. For the most part, I believe it could move 360 degrees, but it is a little hindered by the pieces that you have right here around him, as well as this tab. I don't know if you could see it, but he has a tab right there that kind of limits his head whenever it's positioned downward like this. But he could look up and down like you clearly saw right there, and he does have an additional joint that's down there at the bottom that allows his head to move much more forwards, not so much back, because like I said, there's a piece there that is restricting that, but he could fold downwards like this and also move upwards if you can get it to move freely. So overall, Voyage Class Evasion Mode Optimus Prime is definitely one of the finest figures that Hasbro has put out when it comes to the iterations of Optimus Prime, and I think that they could have had a near masterpiece figure. Even if it's a Voyage Class figure, it could have been a near masterpiece if they had just made him a little bit bigger and wouldn't have felt so cheated by Hasbro, considering that this thing is $25, which I guess it could have been worse when it comes to that price point, but still, Hasbro, you really do need to become a little bit more ambitious about the figures that you guys are putting out there, because making the figures smaller and charging us more for them is not a really good business strategy. But fortunately, they make up for that in giving us a really well-sculpted, well-detailed, and well-meaning figure, considering that it's a figure that they didn't really need to do, but they actually went ahead and gave us a figure out of what I'm thinking will be a very small portion of the movie, where Optimus will have a mode that is a huge wink at the fans of Generation 1. So for that sake alone, I'm actually going to go ahead and give Voyager Class Evasion Mode Optimus Prime an 8 out of 10. It could have been a 9 if it wasn't for, like I said, the sizing issues, and some more paint decals would have been welcome. So that about does it for my review. Let me know what you guys thought of this figure if you own him, and if you don't, I definitely recommend him, more so than the Leader Class. I mean, I do sound a little hypocritical considering that I don't own that figure, but one good look at him and I can definitely say that I'd rather just stick with Voyager Class Evasion Mode Optimus Prime, and I think you should too. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.